The state of Alabama is involved in 3 separate lawsuits against President Biden over his COVID vaccine mandates. Those mandates were for private employers, federal contractors, and healthcare workers. Here to talk about the status of those lawsuits in Alabama is the Attorney General who filed them, Steve Marshall. Good to see you this morning, Attorney General.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Well, so 3 different lawsuits concerning 3 different groups of people. Recap those, if you would, please.
Yeah, when President Biden first announced the various mandates back in September, we said that we would aggressively push back against anything that Alabama had the opportunity to fight, and we've done that. We've been successful on 2 fronts. We've already obtained nationwide injunctions on mandates against private employers. We've obtained a nationwide injunction involving the healthcare workers, and last Friday in Georgia had our case argued involving federal contractors. We're very confident that we'll likewise get a very positive result there, and believe very strongly this administration has greatly exceeded the authority granted it by Congress and clearly violated the Constitution.
Those are big wins for you and the other states involved in this too. What is your ultimate goal when it comes to these vaccine mandates? Because it certainly sets a precedent of what the federal government can do down the road.
No, I think the goal is to return the authority to make these decisions to the states. I mean, if you look at the history of public health initiatives in this country, those are clearly state efforts, particularly involving the determination of any inoculation regime regarding vaccines. And so all we're simply asking through the actions that are filed in various courts is to return that authority back to state government to allow for Alabama policymakers and Alabama decision makers to make those choices moving forward.
And when it comes to the pandemic, we saw so many firsts when it comes to federal government's power over a situation like this. It's kept you busy, hasn't it?
Oh, it clearly has. When we've seen various ways in which particularly this administration is encroached upon fundamental rights that are guaranteed to individuals by the Constitution, when we've seen a president use authority granted on a limited basis by Congress to act in certain areas, that becomes the hammer against various states. And let's really understand what this president is doing. He's upset with state policymakers that don't agree with him, and he's going to use every means at his disposal, whether lawful or not, to impose his wishes on the states. And that's not the design of federalism. That's not the design of our Constitution. And again, it's an opportunity for us to be able to push back on this administration.
Steve, with about 30 seconds left, I know you as the chief law enforcement officer of the state, your heart is broken over what you're seeing. Just in Birmingham over the weekend, we had 6 homicides.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen record violent acts across this country, and I think it's a narrative that unfortunately gets lost when many discuss the role and the function of law enforcement. They are the protectors in our community. We need to do everything that we can to be able to support them, and it's when law enforcement is able to proactively do their jobs that communities are safer. Hope Birmingham is able to embrace that moving forward.
Steve Marshall, Attorney General for the state of Alabama, we appreciate your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
We'll be right back here on the CBS 42 Morning News.